So today, boys, we're going to be learning about main idea. Okay, so the Common Core standard that aligns with is RI 4.2. RI stands for Reading Informational Texts. So we're going to be focused on those informational nonfiction texts today. The grade is 4 and the standard is 2. The standard reads, determine the main idea of a text and explain how it is supported by key details, summarize the text. However, we are solely going to focus on this portion of the standard. And you might ask yourself, well, what does determine mean? We're just going to try and figure out what the main idea is, and we have to do that by looking closely. And we're going to further define what exactly is main idea. So you might be asking yourself, what is the main idea? The main idea is the most important point the author is trying to make about a topic. And it's what the text is mostly about. And it can also be referred to as the central idea. So don't get confused if you hear words thrown around such as central idea. We're referring to that main idea. We're referring to what the text is mostly about. Now, this is not to be confused with topic. Topic is the subject of the text, and it's usually one word or a small phrase, whereas the main idea is the most important point about that topic. So you can't find the main idea without the topic, but the topic is not the whole main idea. It's just a portion. And supporting details do just as they read. They support the main idea. They are statements that explain or prove the author's points about a topic. And if you cannot find supporting details that support your claim of the main idea, then you have the wrong claim. So how do we determine the main idea? First, you read and annotate the text. The boys in my class know that we always annotate the text because it helps us better understand it. And annotations are literally, they're writing their thoughts, their clarifications, their questions, their connections to the text that they're reading. And then they determine the topic and they ask themselves, what is the author trying to tell me about the topic? And when they ask themselves that, they go back to the top of their article and they write out the topic and they also write out the main idea statement. That way it's always there and they can refer back to it. And if they can't answer that, then they will need to reread the text. Then they analyze the details that will support the main idea. A lot of their annotations from previously reading can also help with this. And then we look for those keywords repeated in the text to help us with the main idea, and then we create that main idea statement. So how do we create the main idea statement? I'm going to give you a few steps to do so. It's quite easy, just follow along. First, you start with your restate. Okay, so many questions can be asked, what is the text mostly about? What is the main idea of the text? Or what is the central idea of the text? So you just restate a portion of the question. The main idea is. Then you add the article's name. The main idea of the article, more kids are giving these less common sports a try. This was an article the boys read a little while ago on News ELA, is that. And then we add the topic and the big idea about that topic. So we're just going to take those two portions that we already did, and we're going to put them all together with the topic and the big idea or the main idea about that topic. The main idea of the article, more kids are giving these less common sports a try, is that many kids are choosing non-traditional sports for a variety of reasons. And then they would have been able to go back in the text and find multiple supporting details to support that claim. Now, here's some examples of some topics and some main ideas within some articles that they've already read on News ELA. The first one we just covered. The second one, sand dunes communicate when they move. That was the article. The topic here is sand dunes. The main idea of the article, sand dunes communicate when they move, researchers say, is that sand dunes communicate as they move. And if scientists can understand more, they will be able to help people adapt to that climate change. So there we took the topic and we took the most important thing about that topic and we put it all together. And last but not least, the article is titled The Science of Snowflakes. The topic there was snowflakes, and the main idea statement, when you put it all together, the main idea of the article, The Science of Snowflakes, is that although snowflakes are formed in the same process, no two are alike. So those are just some examples of some topics and some main idea statements that your scholars should be striving to create. Now, how will I know it's asking for the main idea? So there's a variety of questions that you will have on either assessments or in classwork or in independent work or at work at home during remote learning. And we have to know the main idea to be able to answer these. So you might be posed with the question, which sentence best supports the main idea of the article? So you'd have to go back and look at which sentence from the text about those options supports the main idea of the article. And if you don't have or understand the main idea of the article, you can't answer that to the best of your ability. Which idea from the article best supports the main idea? How does the map support the main idea of the article? And which paragraph best supports the main idea of the article? And all of these questions cannot be answered without understanding what the main idea of whatever text, passage, or article you read. So it's very, very important that we understand how to create main idea statements and how to understand what the main idea is, because without it, we can't answer a lot of questions. So we're going to practice that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a short, concise article, and we're going to come up with a main idea statement that we would apply to a short response question asking about the main idea. So the title of the article is School on a Bus. For millions of kids in India, getting an education is a big challenge. But in some parts of the South Asian country, school buses have come to the rescue. The buses don't take kids to school, though. The buses are the schools. Why are buses being used as schools? Although India's economy has improved greatly in recent years, millions of people there still live in poverty. Many kids who live in poor areas can't get to schools that are far away. Other kids have to work to help support their families. To help these children, the classroom buses operate in cities such as Hyderabad, Mumbai, New Delhi, and Pune. Like regular school buses, they go around and pick up kids. Each bus has a teacher on board, along with a blackboard, shelves of books, crayons, and other supplies. When the buses park, the lessons begin. The kids range in age from 6 to 14. Grouped by skill level, they learn reading, writing, math, and more. Making education available to more people in India is no easy task. India is home to 1.2 billion people. More than 1/3 are unable to read and write. But the schools on wheels are helping to give more kids opportunities and hope for a better future. Then we also have two text features here. We have a photograph and a caption where this is a classroom bus in India down at the bottom. And then at the top, we have a map of India to kind of show us where these cities are that they have the schools on a bus. So what your scholar would have done here is they would have written within the margins their connections, their thoughts, etc. And then when they're done reading the article, they have to ask themselves, okay, what is the topic? And they're going to go to the top of the article and they're going to write the topic. The topic would be classroom buses or school on a bus or schools on buses. And then the main idea statement that would be created in reference to this article would go something like this. The main idea of the text, School on a Bus, is that classroom buses have helped educate children in India, where in some parts of the country, getting an education can be challenging. So we have our topic, we have our main idea statement, and that's what they would do to every article, every passage, every text they read, just so that they have that statement there so they can refer back to it, whether or not there is a short response question about it or whether or not there is a multiple choice question about it. It's very beneficial to always know the main idea of the text that you read. So we're going to go a little bit further and we're going to practice a short response answer. So you would have a question that could ask it like this. What is the central idea of the text? Use two details to support your response. So first, we would start with our steps. We would start with our restate and our answer. The main idea of the text School on a Bus is that classroom buses have helped educate children in India, where in some parts of the country, getting an education can be challenging. So there you have your restate of your question, whereas I use the word main idea, they have central idea in the question. Either is good, and then we answered it. Then we have to do something where we go to that next part of that question and we have to use two details to support our response. Now, those details are going to explicitly come from the text, okay? And if we can't find two details to support that, then we don't have the right main idea, but I believe that we do. So here are two details that I found back in the text. I know this because the text states, many kids who live in poor areas can't just get to schools that are far away. That is found in paragraph 2. Also, the text states that other kids have to work to help support their families, and this would mean that they wouldn't often travel to school. So here I used a piece of text evidence, but I also went to explain it a little bit further, because if I would have just used the explicit piece of text evidence, I wouldn't have been supporting my claim as well as I could have. Sometimes those pieces of text evidence or those supporting details will need a little bit more explanation to tie it all together. Okay, last but not least, we have something called an analysis statement or a conclusion statement. Either of the terms your scholar will have heard, but this is what we expect. Okay, so this proves, they could also say this shows, this proves the main idea of the text is that classroom buses have helped educate children in India whom otherwise wouldn't be able to go to school because they bring school to the children, not the children having to travel to school. So if you'll notice in my analysis statement, I don't necessarily mention the name of the article again. That would be a little bit of overkill. So what we do instead is we don't have to state it. We just say in the text. So here we have our restate and answer again, where we have restated a portion of the question and we have answered it fully. Then here we have our two details. Just like how the question asks us, use two details. Here I have two explicit details with a little bit of an explanation for that second one. And last but definitely not least, we have our analysis statement, which ties it all together. And we don't just stop. This proves the main idea of the text, period. That doesn't explain as to, well, why does it prove the main idea of the text? Make sure that your scholar really strives to include this word because within their analysis statement, because it helps them explain further, okay? So let's review. The main idea is the most important point the author is trying to make about a topic. It's really what the text is mostly about. Can also be referred to as the central idea or big idea. You heard me say that in the video as well. And when you know the main idea of the text, you are set to answer many questions about that text. Like I mentioned earlier, if you do not know the main idea of an article, text, or passage, it is very hard to answer anything about that text. So this is very foundational, and I hope that this has helped. And I will see you next time.